Good morning, everybody. It's Tracy on another episode of What Has Changed Your Life. Today, we are going to talk about kids with superpowers. Kids they aren't what you would call normal. But as I like to say, what is normal anyway? So they're kids with superpowers. We're going to talk about, as parents, how we can help and support you as you're going through different stages and ages of life with your children. Today's guest is Karen. She is a speaker. She is also a coach. And her mission and goal is to nurture parents and support them as they go through these different ages and stages with their kids with all these fantastic superpowers. Thank you, Karen, for joining me today. It's such a pleasure to have you on my show today.
Hi, Tracy. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, our kids with superpowers, they come in different ranges in the spectrum. Some are on the spectrum, some are not. I have a son who happens to have ADHD, and he also has a learning disability. So even with those, he has different superpowers and challenges in his life. And your child is also a special needs child
She
or a
is.
child with superpowers.
She is a child. She has lots of superpowers. My
Yeah.
goodness. Yes. So my oldest daughter was diagnosed first through the school system with learning disabilities. She was learning disabilities, no working memory,
Mhm.
anxiety, and ADHD.
Mhm.
So with that, all those superpowers, we started getting her outside help. So psychology, she went saw a psychologist just to help really get skills to be able to work with her anxiety, to be able to learn how her mind learns for ADHD and as well with her learning disabilities. So there was work with the school, but also, so it was with working with the psychologist that she was like, you know what, there's more here.
Yeah.
And and I was so scared at that because what more could there be? And I knew what this meant, but I didn't know what this meant. So, and
Yeah.
sure enough, it was autism.
Right. And the thing is, when people hear that and they hear that their kid isn't, and I always say, quote unquote, normal, because again, what is normal? Um, I know for ourselves, you almost grieve a little bit for not having what is considered that child that fits in the box.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But before you can actually grieve, you have to come to acceptance,
Mm.
right? So when I was first told, I remember just, I remember, but yet it was a fog being in that doctor's office when
Mhm.
she confirmed the diagnosis because I didn't want to accept it. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
And I'm reading those brochures about what autism means and what to look for and what that's going to mean for her life going forward. And I just didn't want it. I didn't
Yeah.
want it for her. I didn't want it for our family.
Yeah.
I was just like, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to accept it. And
Yeah.
that stayed with me for quite some time because and I'm the type of person that takes problems head on.
Yeah.
I tackle them. Okay, this is where we're at. How do we work with this? How do we move forward? It didn't matter where it was, whatever stage of my life. That's always how I do handle problems. So
Right.
for this one, it totally knocked me off my game. I
Yeah.
really didn't know how to move forward with it.
Yeah, because it's a daunting thing because we're used to seeing what autism looks like, on social, on TV, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is such an overwhelming, daunting task. How am I going to help this child thrive in this
Well,
world that's
and,
different?
and it was the information that was actually given to me. So the pamphlets were like, don't expect to do well in school. Like high school will be very difficult without a lot of support.
Yeah.
Making friends will be very difficult. So expect, like, watch out for, depression, suicide, all of that. Post-secondary education is probably not the best for her. Teach her life skills so that she would be able to find some type of employment, and regular jobs probably will not work well for her. So these are all, I didn't need to go into my memory as far as like what it was like, what I've seen other autistic people be like. This was the information that was given to me, is this is what your expectations now should be for your daughter.
And
And
that
that
is,
was like,
there's nothing
wow.
positive about, yeah, there's nothing positive about what they've said in those
No,
pamphlets to make you feel hopeful that your child is going to have a thriving life, whatever
no,
that looks like for
whatever
them.
that looks like. Exactly. And I was so torn, because I would come home and my daughter was still, she was 11, and she was still, and I say this, like, I remember driving home in a fog from that appointment and walking in the front door, and Jordan jumps up out of the couch. She's like, cut. Oh my God, Mom, you're in the shot, because she always had my iPad and
Yeah,
used her two little sisters as props and made movies all the time. Like, she was
yeah,
always like directing and telling them. And I just walked in and I was just like, oh my goodness, right? Like this
yeah,
is who she is. How
yes,
can she be everything that's in this brochure when this is really who she is? Like, so that was sort of the, like, how do I have to change what, like, it was so unclear. And as
yeah,
far as like support for me as the mom, it was
mhm,
like, well, call these organizations.
yes,
And so get on the, and so I called the organizations, and they put me into a mom support group, which was full of parents that were exactly where I was,
yeah,
and not knowing where to go or what to do. And it was, and because autism is such a broad spectrum, so there
very
is,
broad.
right?
Yeah,
And I know
very
that they don't like talking about low functioning or high functioning, because it takes away from both sides, and I get that. um, but it's huge. The umbrella is really big. So my child's needs is very different from a nonverbal
yeah,
child's needs, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
So how do you support the parents when there's so many different areas?
Yes,
um, and so I found that there really wasn't much. And also for Jordan, because she was 11, 12,
mhm.
she didn't fit into any programs.
Because she was too old, I bet.
Well, they have 13 and above and 10
Hmm.
and below.
Oh, so let's forget
So
about the 11, 12s.
I don't know. I
We don't
guess
need
11
anything.
and 12 is supposed to just,
All right,
figure it out for those 2 years.
exactly.
So, but when you're diagnosed at 11, you're like, well, where do I start? Because
Yeah.
so she wasn't mature enough to go in with the teenage groups, because that's what they said. Well, we can put her in there. But I was afraid, because she was still quite immature
Yes.
with her thinking. I was afraid as to what she would be exposed to in those groups.
Yes.
And even though maturity wise, she probably would have fit in with the younger ones, she wasn't, that just wouldn't fit well with her either.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we got it. Now what do I do?
Yeah. I'm just going to unpack something before we move forward. So she was 11 when she was diagnosed. So was it something that you noticed, or was it something the school said, hey, maybe we need to do a psychological assessment on this child? Um, how did you get there to there? Because that is
So
usually it's around 7, 6, 7 that they start looking at the kids. So how
yeah.
did you get there?
So girls, first of all, girls display very differently than boys. And all of the
Mhm.
studies have been done on boys.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
and you know what? Since Jordan was born, she has been displaying autism.
Mhm.
So when she was speech delayed,
Mhm.
went to the doctor. You know what? She's a year. She's not saying mama and dada. Like, she can communicate, but she's not verbally speaking. So we went to a center. They tested her hearing. They did, testing on her and determined that her hearing was fine. She was understanding when you talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a big thing. So then they sent me and her father to parenting classes, because they said, well, you're probably not, because she's your first, you have to like give them time to process what they're saying. Like, you're probably just talking over her. And what we actually learned in that class was an important thing, which probably did have something to do with it. So when we were in that class, we were with a lot of parents with English was not their first language.
Right.
So when children are learning in that age group 2 languages, often they are delayed because they're learning 2 languages at once.
Right.
So, and I was like, well, we speak English.
Yeah.
But she went to a babysitter, which she spent most of her day there, and they spoke Pakistani.
Oh.
So her first word was actually babu, which I was like, I went back to her. I went back to her babysitter. I was like, she keeps saying babu, babu. Do you know what that is? She goes, oh, that's daddy in our language. I was like, all right, well, at least she's speaking. Like, so she can do it. And then she did. She caught up. So we used all of the skills that we were taught. When you ask a question, wait, see, make sure that they're processing, allow them time to answer. So we did all of those, which actually did help her to then develop. So, and then she had problems with her going to the bathroom, and it wasn't that she couldn't go to the bathroom, it was that she was holding it. And so again, went to the doctor, and they just said, oh, it's called toddler withholding. Just make sure that she, they give her some type of laxative so that she can keep everything really soft, because probably what happened is that she had, a hard time going to the bathroom once. She remembers it was painful, and now she doesn't want to do that again. So, everything had an explanation. Right. So, and then when she was, in school and so far behind, they were like, yeah, she'll catch up. Oh, she's so cute. And then, so she was diagnosed with inattentive ADHD because she was a dreamer. So she would just go and like be quiet in the back of the class and just be off in la la land. And she was totally. But I was just like, okay. So it really wasn't until grade 4 when things were, her anxiety was getting worse. And we noticed, like, at kindergarten, she would kick and scream going to birthday parties. And I'm like, what 5-year-old doesn't want to go to a birthday party? Like, oh my goodness, you play games, you sing songs, you get cake. Well, for an autistic kid, that is like nightmare. And here I am going, aren't you crazy? Everyone's like, oh, it's just separation anxiety. I would get my friends to pick her up at kicking and screaming and drag her to the birthday party, right? And I mean, of course, when she was there, she enjoyed herself to a certain extent, but little things. So there always was clues along the way, and I was somewhat in tune to them, but not like the typical when you are looking, like, because her stims were just so very like Jordan like they were not big, right? So and that's a lot. That's why girls totally know how to mask. They learn how to mask very, very quickly and very early. So masking is a term that they use when autistic people try to fit into our world.
So some things for people that don't know, stims are things that the kids do over and over. Like flapping is one thing you'll see with autistic children. They'll flap their hands like this, especially when they're excited or overstimulated. That stuff gets heightened. So,
or they're rocking. Even banging their head, right? So it's just something that they do to because they actually get tingling sensations. So
Yeah.
that is some. But if you think about it, Tracy, when you get excited, you and I, when we get excited, what's the first thing we do? Ah, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's in a way like everybody does it. It's
Yeah.
just the autistic, they do it more repetitively, and
Right.
it's more, and usually for a longer period of time until they can sense, like it's either
Yeah.
they're either searching for sensory or searching to desensitize. So it's just a different way that their brain processes, right? So
Exactly. And the
so
thing
that's
about
it.
it is people look at that behavior and they're like, that's weird.
Yeah,
But for the child, that's perfectly normal, right?
exactly.
So, they flap. So it's obviously not self-harming themselves. That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
um, so you see the clues, and then you start to go down the road of the assessment. So
right.
did you get the assessment through the school, or
I
did you do
did.
it privately through the
No, no,
school?
no. I did. We were a single income family. I had 3 kids. I didn't have that money to be able to pay
Yeah.
for a psychological assessment. And she'd been, so in grade 1, like she was bullied. There was lots of things throughout her school history that showed that she really would warrant it to be done through the school.
Yeah.
I had a tutor that was with her from kindergarten. So he was our neighbor. He was a teacher, and he would 2 times a week he would go over homework with her and kept her 2 grade levels below where she needed to be. So I can't imagine where she would have been if she wasn't with him twice a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, we had a tutor for Matt too, because his reading level was after kindergarten going into grade 1, he was not reading anywhere near where the other kids were. So we had a tutor come in, and it was interesting because the minute we found a tutor, and I don't know if you found this, but when we found a tutor that understood him,
Yep.
it was almost like the lock had a key and it got opened.
Yep.
And it was such a great thing to see him going from barely reading to like reading these short stories. Obviously, grade 1, they're not reading novels, but
Yep.
it was so awesome to see that somebody was able to open him up,
Yeah.
open his mind. Because I found over the years with my son is people automatically think that he is not intelligent. And that stigma really, really bugs me because that boy pays attention and has a phenomenal memory. Like you wouldn't believe.
Oh
He
yeah.
can remember intricate things that most people don't even see.
Yeah.
And that's one of his superpowers. And people automatically think that he is not a smart individual. And that always bugged me
Oh yeah.
tremendously because people underestimate them.
Totally. And that, just think about what that could do to their confidence going forward if they actually
Mhm.
believed that or heard people talking about them that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
ADHD and autism also, and learning disabilities, it's all a matter of just understanding how that brain processes the information. It has absolutely nothing to do with their intelligence level.
No.
Not at all. And that was the conversation that I always had with Jordan. Like, we just need to figure out how your brain works. And
Yes.
once we figure out how your brain works, there will
Yeah.
be no stopping you.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. Because all it is a difference of how they learn,
yeah,
right? And we had a lot of, after our assessment, we had a lot of recommendations put in place so that he could function in school. And one of our biggest battles, and I don't know if you found this, was actually getting those things put in place by the school.
so I have to say that we were blessed,
Mm.
because so the school that she was at originally that ended up doing the psychological evaluation on her was not very good, because I fought with them grade 1, grade 2, and all the time in what they were saying grade 3, all the time that they were saying was, well, there's kids that are worse off than your daughter.
Mm.
She actually got physically abused by another student in grade 1. And to the point where, and they were just like, well, you have to think about that other boy that's actually doing that to your daughter. And I was just like, what a minute here. What? I called the police and they were like, listen, there's nothing we can really do about a 6-year-old little boy. And I'm like, well, my daughter has a black eye and the school's doing nothing about it. And he's like, well, talk to your daughter and tell her to stay away from him because there's nothing that we can do about a 6-year-old little boy, which I understand. I never would have expected them to arrest him. I was just frustrated as a parent and getting nowhere. And the excuse is, well, your daughter, like, think about the other kid. And of course, that other kid has major issues, like for him to be able to do that, but that's not my concern.
No.
So,
no.
You know, after we had done all of this, my marriage actually ended. And so the girls and I had moved in with my parents, and that forced them to change schools. So the school that we moved them to, he got it. The principal was so on board with learning disabilities, with certs. There was sensory rooms, and this was a long time ago. She's about to graduate college now. So this was quite some time ago, and he was already had all of these things in place. And so that was a huge blessing for Jordan because she went into a school with a cert that was there to support her. And constant communication with me. What is it that you need? And so she had her list of accommodations that were provided with the IEP. And, I went to those IPRC meetings and made sure that they were there, but I had nothing to really worry about. And when she got her autism diagnosis, one of the representatives from Carrie's Place actually went with me to the school meeting with the principal for the IPRC meeting, because she was like, I'm going with you to make sure that they do take this seriously, because she's had to battle principals before. And when we walked out of that, she goes, you are in the best place for your daughter. This guy gets it.
Wow.
And so we were really, really lucky.
Yeah, we didn't have the same experience.
Yeah, I know.
I was usually in the office with the principal every week, almost battling for a simple thing like, letting the kid take breaks, breaking things into chunks, just simple, basic things. There was a year where we actually had to get him removed from a teacher's classroom because she figured out she didn't know how to help Matthew. And so what she decided to do was she labeled him as trouble and sent him to the office every single day. And then, of course, Matt figured out, because he's not stupid, that if I do this, she's going to send me to the office every day. And I don't need to be in this room.
Yeah.
And so I literally would go to the school and I would say to the teacher, okay, these are the things that he's allowed to have. Here's the paper with all the information on it and all the tools that you can use. And okay, I made her sign off on it. And then it never got done. So eventually I had enough paperwork to take to the superintendent and say, she signed all of this and said, and he's spending every day in the office and not learning hardly anything at all because she refuses to help him and because she is not willing, because he is not behaving the way that she expects him to behave. So long story short, we were able to remove him from that classroom. The one thing I wish I had known was that we could have had an option to remove him from the school. And we didn't know that was even an option. And the only reason it became an option for him was because of the bullying and the things that occurred most of his elementary time. And, that really, I wish I had those supports or that knowledge back then, what I know now.
Yeah.
To help him, because I think certain things would have been very different for him if I had known, but I didn't know because
you didn't know.
We didn't know.
And and it's still something that's not very well regulated. It's really not. Like, a lot of parents are not knowing what supports are available for their kids throughout the school system. A
Yeah.
lot of teachers don't have the support or the help to be able
No.
to give. And it all comes down to funding. It comes down to, like, how many certs they're allowed to have, how many EAs, like, it's so ridiculous that,
Yeah.
and as parents, that's not our job to really understand all of that. Our job is to be able to help our kids. And
Right.
so, and it's not public knowledge. Right. So it's
Yes.
not like you can go on to the school board website and say, these are all of the services that you can actually ask for your children. A lot of people don't know that, especially in York region, the school board that we were at, that there is an option for a school psychologist. If the child is having problems, you can have the principal asked to call in a school psychologist, which could come and talk to the kids,
Right.
depending on what the issues is. One of my other daughters was having severe anxiety attacks in the school, where she was calling me from the bathroom for a period. And I was just like, okay, something's going on, because I don't know if it has to do with school and how, like, I don't know, but she cannot leave the bathroom when she's in
Right.
the school, and she's calling me. So this principal, who was lovely, said, okay, I'm going to call and see what's going on with that, because it's happening in the school and that's just not right. So,
No.
but it was a teacher friend of mine who told me about that service. It
Right.
was not something that is widely known. So
Not at
it
all, because I'm sitting here thinking, man, I wish I had known that too.
exactly. So there is, that's where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. What I tell all the parents is exactly what you said. Like, be friends with the principal, be friends with the teachers, like, be a constant in your kids' life, because who's surrounding them, because it it's so crucial to be able to get what you need for your kids.
Yes.
I was, I volunteered in the school. I was a
Me
constant
too.
in there. I don't know if it really made that much of a difference, if there was some kids that didn't benefit from the same services, or what. I can only speak to my experience, but I know that I felt more comfortable picking up the phone and calling the teacher or calling the principal whenever something was not right. And all three of my girls had been bullied in school, and I've had to make those phone calls, but
Yeah.
because of my relationship that I had built with them throughout all that time, I was able to call and have my voice heard,
Which is awesome.
which is huge. And when you
Huge.
have a child who is gifted, like, has special needs, has an IEP, is gifted with a superpower, that's part of it. You need to make sure that there are people there that really understand your child, because if your child isn't understanding themselves and
Yeah.
can't advocate for themselves, which is a learned behavior,
Yeah.
then somebody needs to do that for them. And a lot of the times the parents go in there yelling and screaming and beating it down, and everyone gets their back up, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating all around. And so, right, but because you're mama bear, right? And I'm mama bear too. Like, let me tell
Totally.
you, totally mama bear. They even bought me the cup. So I have a mug that says mama bear, because that is who I am. But at the same time, you also have to know that there are some ways to get places and some ways not to get places, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes. And
um,
sometimes I think for people, I'll speak for myself, when you're going through it, at the beginning, you are being nice about it. You're, trying to work together with the team. And then but then and again, I think it had to do with more about the lack of support in the school. I think you're
yeah,
right with funding. teachers, large classroom sizes, all of those things played huge factors. And just stuff was always getting missed and not getting done. And then Mama Bear comes, because Mama Bear's ticked off that I have to tell you 10 times, this is what he needs. And every single year I have to go through the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again with every single one of you. And nobody seems to be hearing me. Like, hello, is anybody there?
Yeah.
Right.
I get
so
that.
Then that's when I found the Mama Bear would come out. And certain years, you're absolutely right, he had some pretty amazing teachers that took him under their wing and just, helped him and whatever. And I remember one time I had a discussion. I was going to say disagreement, but discussion is a better word, with one of his teachers. And he was like, well, that's not how things are done. And I looked at him and I said, okay, I can appreciate what you're saying, but how about we look outside of that box? How about we go outside the lines that you created, saying, this is how things are done. This is how things are done in my class. Oh, good for you. And I'm glad you have that routine, and it's great. But sometimes you have to look outside of that box.
Yeah.
Because the box can be round. And you're trying to right now put a round kid in a square. Yeah. And he's not fitting. So how can we make it fit for both of you and for him?
Yeah.
And those are the types of conversations that you have to have sometimes.
Yeah, and you do, and you need to be, and that's where we come back to, accepting where your child is and that grieving process. Because if you're coming at those conversations from an angry and from an insecure place, then it's not going to go well for anybody, right? There's going to be too much passion involved, and too many feelings are in there, and your message won't be heard. So when you are able to accept your child for who they are, regardless of where it is, and I had to definitely do that for Jordan, and my other two kids as well. You kind of have to do that for all of your kids, because as they grow up, they actually do have their own personalities.
Yeah,
regardless
they're
of what
same person.
Exactly. I'm like, well, that's not the dream I had for you when you were born. Like, So like, you really do need to sort of be okay with all of that. And once you do accept that, and once you start seeing them for who they are, and know how that fits into your place, into your family, then you're able to really advocate for your kids from a safe place. And really, and that's what I mean, like, not angry, not passionate, because when you go in there blazing, of course you have passion, but when there's a time and a place for that, and those conversations with the schools is really not the best place for that. You're not going to get very far, because it's challenging.
It is challenging because they want it done a certain way, and you're coming in with both, as you say, both guns a-blazing, and nothing, and nobody gets heard, and then nothing gets done or accomplished.
Right. And and one of the things that I taught Jordan and all of my girls is how to advocate for themselves. Mm-hmm. So when they were feeling insecure, what does that sound like? What are your feelings? How do you articulate that? So, before she was like, I have a tummy ache, and I'm just like, well, do you have a tummy ache, or is it anxiety? Are you unsure about something? Like, and this goes with all kids, really. If they're, because it comes out physical, right? And people are like, okay, well, if you have a tummy ache, go to bed, then you don't have to do this. Or you're acting out some way, and it's like, okay, but you know what? People are gonna try to fix that symptom, and it's not going to fix the real problem. So it's better to articulate what the problem is. So, even before she was diagnosed, when I noticed that she was having anxiety, I was like, you tell it, like, you're having anxiety, like you're nervous about a new situation. Say that. Mm-hmm. And so she had many people looking at her strange when she'd be like, I'm having, like, as a little kid, I'm having an anxiety attack right now. I just need to do my breathing and do my belly breaths, and I will be okay. And they're like, oh, okay, you do whatever you need to do. You just tell me what I need. But
that's awesome, though.
But Totally. And that served her so well, especially going into high school.
Yeah.
Because in high school, you're not as involved, right? Usually
Yeah.
the parents only get calls when it's really bad, right?
Yeah.
So she was able to tell those teachers, you know what, I need more time in doing this project. I don't understand what you're asking. Can you go over this again? I can stay in my lunch hour. I have no problems doing that, because the one great thing about Jordan was that she was all about learning how her brain learned.
Yes.
She didn't care what it looked
Yeah.
like. She didn't care that she needed to miss her lunch. She didn't care that she was put into a different classroom, during school, because she could concentrate and learn, and then she felt good because she was understanding. So that served her very well going forward. My other two neurotypicals are not very good at that. They'll plow through. So they're going to have to learn those lessons a different way, which they will. But for actually really starting to label the feelings, what's going on, will definitely serve your child moving forward. A lot of times, especially autistic kids, they have so many feelings going on inside of them that they don't know how to label them.
Yes.
Right? We don't know
Mhm.
what's going on. We don't
Yeah.
know how to, and actually, until you're over the age of 6, you don't know what those feelings are inside of you.
Mhm.
That's why so many kids younger than that, like you see the temper tantrums, they're just so overwhelmed. They don't
They
know
can't,
what's going
they
on. They
can't tell
can't
you what's happening.
articulate it, right? And
There's
so what
adults
do?
that do that.
I've done that. Sometimes where I'm just like, okay, you know what? I need a timeout,
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that. I
right?
put myself in timeout before.
Yeah, because it's so overwhelming. So
Yeah.
you have to learn you need to teach actually what those feelings mean. Okay, well, you're angry right now. This feeling that you have right now is anger, or you're sad, or you're, sympathetic. Like,
Yeah.
so teaching how to properly label those feelings going forward really, really is a huge benefit for any kid, any time growing
Anybody.
up. Yeah,
Anybody.
anybody.
Absolutely. And so for you, you ended up getting in this whole world of being an advocate and being a coach for other parents.
Yeah.
So you obviously saw a need that was lacking, because I'm sitting here thinking, man, I wish I had you sitting beside me in those meetings when I
Yeah.
was going through the whole process. I mean, I had some friends that were in and worked with kids with autism, and so they were very helpful in guiding me and giving me information. But I would have loved somebody sitting there with me, helping me navigate through without
Yeah.
doing a lot of it on my own and making as many mistakes as I did.
Well,
So
I
you
mean,
decided to go into this whole entire realm of coaching parents, which is
yeah. Yeah. So I think that really when I think back about my journey, what really helped my daughter the most was when I got myself under control.
awesome.
So when I dealt with my fears, when I dealt with my feelings around her diagnosis and what that meant for our family, and exactly what you said at the beginning of this, and when I grieved the vision that I had for her and accepted her for who she is in this moment, that's when I was able to really help my daughter and
Mm.
help our family. Because at the beginning, I was just in control. How am I going to make you be like everybody else? I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want you to feel bullied. So this is how you act like normal people, like
Yeah,
your friends around you. But she
yeah,
was constantly fighting herself, and she ended up screaming at me like, what, why can't you just love me for who I am? Why are you trying to change me? I mean, one of the gifts of autism is no filter, and that is definitely one of her gifts, is that
yeah,
she really doesn't filter what she says when
yeah.
she's feeling very passionate about something. But the gift that I gave her was that I listened to her
Mm.
and I stopped. So my questions then became, well, what do you need? How can I support you right now? And that was really healing for both of us, because I put myself out of that pressure that I have to make things all better and
Yeah.
make her better. And that also taught her how to advocate for herself and identify her needs, which is what we've already sort of talked about. So when I came to this sort of, learning more, like diving more into personal development and with my coaching training, and I thought, well, I just want to be of service, and being of service to others and using everything that I've learned and that I know is to help the parents be okay, like identify those fears,
Yeah.
create harmony within their lives, because that's really what it is that you need to start. People talk about balance, and through my coaching, that's one of the first things that we talk about is what does life in harmony look like for you? Because when we talk about balance, like I have 3 kids, I can't balance 3 kids,
Yeah.
balance is 2, right? So we needed to create harmony, and harmony
Love
within
that.
with everywhere. So that's something that we really look at. We look at how your family is, what are the visions of your future, and we move forward that way. Because, and that's what they, when they say, think back about what helped you the most. Honestly, that's what helped me the most, was when I was okay with me.
Yes.
Then
And that's huge.
yeah.
That's huge. You said something very powerful in that you had to get control of you.
Yeah.
And that is so, so powerful, because it's flipping it a
Yeah.
little bit, right? And I just think when you said that, I was like, wow, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Getting control of you. And then you're able to help your child.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because your child hasn't changed.
No.
That was the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
the day before from the moment that I went into that meeting to the moment that I came out of that meeting, my
Yeah.
daughter was not any different. She
Yeah.
was exactly the same,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Yeah.
the one that changed. I grew in awareness of
Yeah.
who she was.
Right.
So it was me that really needed to do that work.
Yeah. That's powerful. Very powerful. Yeah. So now you coach the parents. How can people find you?
So you can find me. I have my website, KarenFasano.com. So, and with an E. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. Just search me up, reach out to me. I'm very active on both platforms.
Perfect.
And
That's awesome. Well, I
yeah.
thank you so much, Karen, for joining me today, talking about this fantastic topic about dispelling some myths about what it is with our kids and their special superpowers.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. If you have a story that you want to share that has changed your life, contact me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, of all things.
Good for you.
I know, I'm on TikTok. I'm not very good at it, but I'm on there. But you can send me a DM if you want to be on what has changed your life. Thank you, everybody. Happy Sunday. Enjoy this beautiful day. We'll see you next time.